Hello, my name is Jay Chauhan. Today is Monday, the 30th of July 2018, and today's topic is on the question of franchise. So I'll be making a very brief video to explain how the franchise works and what is the role of the lawyer in trying to act for the franchisor or franchisee. Now, just by way of a background, this question of franchise was very often a private contract between the parties in Ontario until a few years ago the Arthur Wishart Franchise Act was enacted. The effect of this act is to require a disclosure. This disclosure has the effect of requiring the franchisor to give his own background to the public, and it's a part of the statute now that if you are a franchisor and the lawyer for the franchisor, you should ask the franchisee who is potentially there to make a decision on to go for the franchise or not. You should have the disclosure provided to the franchisee. The purpose of this arrangement is to make sure that the franchisee is aware of what you have done as a franchisor. It requires your management experience, accounting, and the financial background. And that is very important because for a long time there was an assumption that the franchisor, if he's asking you to be the franchisee, that he knows it all and has the financial wherewithal to carry out his obligations as a franchisor. But this is no longer the case. So it's very important that if you are the franchisor or franchisee, you deal with the disclosure first as a requirement. Then you proceed with the next steps of doing a franchise. And what are those steps? It is firstly a franchise agreement. And how does it work? It essentially works by way of an agreement for the franchisor to say to the franchisee that I will support you in a number of ways, using my brand name, providing you supplies, providing the quality of the product or service, and so that you can maintain that quality, I'll be supervising, watching, and setting you up in your premises and letting you operate with the guidelines of the franchisor. So since the two people have an interest in the same objective of marketing their goods or services, they have an agreement which is an ongoing agreement. It's not like a contract like building where you have a one-time arrangement to build the contract, or complete the contract, and then you are completing the agreement, and that's the end of the story. It's not in the case of a franchise. So once you have an agreement, you have an ongoing relationship, and therefore it's very important in the agreement to watch how the relationship works, which is very often not in the agreement. So this you have to look to the outside arrangement, especially the disclosure. And if you are the franchisee, then you want to look around at the other existing franchise organizations to determine how the franchisor has interacted with them, what are the profit margins, what are the royalties, and what is this relationship work as between the franchisor and franchisee. This is usually not in the agreement. So the agreement sounds very legalistic in terms of the agreement, but it's very important to understand that it is the relationship that counts. One of the other ways in which the franchise actually also connects between the franchisor and franchisee is the use of the premises. Some franchisors who are big enough, they will purchase the building or the premises in the lease arrangement and then provide it to the franchisee. In other cases, the franchisee is left to his own resources to make a direct agreement for the lease with the landlord. But in most cases, the franchisor wants to have the master lease first, which is the landlord's possession as a lessor in relation to the franchisee who gets a sublease as between the franchisor and franchisee. And he himself gets the master lease from the superior landlord, as I call it, which is either a plaza owner or a person who owns the building where the franchise is going to operate. So to make sure that the arrangement for the marketplace is to create the image that if you, for example, a coffee cup franchise or a hamburger franchise, that the product is uniform, and you see these signs outside, which are trademarks usually, to create a consistent image to the public, and to ensure that the image created is fulfilled by providing the goods or services in a consistent manner. And that's the real reason why the franchise organization's arrangement exists. So I think in terms of the relationship, one of the key elements of the relationship between a franchisor and a franchisee is the royalty arrangement. So when you have a royalty, it is usually in the form of the down payment at the commencement of the franchise, in which effect sum of money is paid by the franchisee to the franchisor for training, setup, etc. And then the goodwill acquired by the franchisee over time is very often marketable, in the sense that it's your equity, your name. But when you sell the franchise, you still have to get the consent of the franchisor, who would insist on the new person as an assignee of your rights to be trained and to continue the arrangement of the franchisor-franchisee relationship. So in a new franchise, it is the franchisor-franchisee relationship. In an existing arrangement where the franchisee is trying to sell the business, you have an additional item to complete, which is to understand how the sale of the franchise, either through shares or assets, will happen. So that is a completely different chapter on how to sell a business. But in essence, in the sale of shares, you sell all the shares, which is a concern for capital gains tax when you do that. And the ownership of the shares gives you the right over the company. You buy the whole financial statement of the vendor, and the purchaser will assume the financial statement that was created and was ongoing as between the existing owners and continues in terms of the ownership of the assets and the liabilities and assets with the new owner. So if there were liabilities of the existing franchisee that you assumed by way of purchase of shares, those continue. You can also buy the assets. If you do, then those liabilities do not pass on to you, but you have to comply with the Bulk Sales Act to make sure the title to the assets is clear. So these are some of the ways in which you can transfer an existing franchise from one franchisee to the next one. In all cases, you must obtain the landlord's consent and also the franchisor's consent. And I hope that was useful. This broadcast is done on the Angel Mentorship Group website, and if you like to join, please join the group and make your comment below. You're welcome to join the group as a lawyer, paralegal, or even as a public. It's an open group. So we look forward to meeting some of you in the next CPD seminar, which we am planning right now, the next half of this year, 2018. This is J.H. Arm speaking, and hope you enjoyed that video.